Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today, my special guest on my channel is a colleague and friend of mine. Her name is Elizabeth Coll, and she is the marketing manager at Hologic, the medical technology company that is focused on creating solutions for women's health. And Elizabeth has more than 15 years of experience working in marketing and more than a decade working in marketing, specifically in the medical device industry. So she worked with a number of companies, including some multinational giant companies like Johnson & Johnson and Smith & Nephew. And I am very excited to say hello, to welcome her to my channel, and hopefully we'll have great conversation about marketing and marketing in the medical device industry. Hi, Elizabeth. Good to see you.
Hi, Anna. Thanks for having me. This is so exciting.
Thanks for joining me. And I have so many questions when it comes to marketing, and it's along my journey, I guess. And
where do you start?
Exactly. But I guess I'll start right away asking you questions. I know the audience would like to know how to get into industry, what it's all about, and hopefully we'll be able to educate them a little bit more today. And my first question will be for you, considering that you've been in marketing for so long and having an education in marketing, and knowing how widely applicable the marketing as the field is, I'd like to ask you how and why you decided and ended up working in the medical device field.
Okay, yeah, I could take it back really, really far for sure. And I would say my path is a little bit unconventional compared to some of my colleagues, especially here in Canada. So whenever I was, getting into post-secondary education, I was a teenager at the time. I was really into art and design, and I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do with myself with that. And I thought, well, I should take on a business program because at least then I could get a job in any industry. I just thought that was the most practical thing to do at the time. And I even knew at the time, I'm young, I'm probably going to change my mind. And so I just want to do what is probably smart. A business program, marketing program is pretty applicable across many industries. And so, as I went through that education, I'd be able to make a more sound decision on, what I was really interested in, what my future held for me. So that's what I did. I took a 3-year marketing diploma course from Sheridan College here in the GTA. I also did a co-op internship term while I was there too. I did an unpaid internship at Disney. Pay your interns. It was an amazing experience, but it was so long ago. Like that was just such a common thing. But it was just great to get a big company under my belt and everything for sure. And then it was a great program in general, right? Like the college programs here in Canada are fantastic because the classes are smaller, very hands-on, lots of group work and group interaction. You get a lot of FaceTime with the instructors. So I really appreciated that. And even though it was so long ago now, I still look back on those days and the things I learned are still relevant today for sure. I also knew at some point that in order to, make it and get a relatively decent job in Canada, I would need a university degree. And that was always part of my plan to do some form of university afterwards. I was really lucky. I kind of stumbled upon an opportunity whenever I was in college to go to an Australian university for a year. They take the credits that you earned at college, they transfer that into a degree in 1 year in Australia. Went to Griffith University in Australia. A lot of folks do that, and it was, again, a great opportunity to be in a more academic versus applied setting of education. It was a lot of fun, obviously. A lot of my colleagues at college at the time took that program, and so I knew people who were there as well, so that was great. I was really big into traveling and living abroad at that time, of course, and so I lived in the UK for a while. I had a job at a software company. I worked at Porter Airlines back in Canada for a few months between college and university. And so once I got out of university, I was really set on a job in aviation. I'm an absolute plane nut. I could tell you anything about any airplane, any airline. I hear planes flying over my condo and I can tell you what type it is just based on the sound. So at least at that point, I kind of developed a bit of a passion anyway. And I started applying for jobs with airlines and things, but back then that was 2008, 2009, and it wasn't a great year to get a job and travel aviation in general. So kind of went back to square one, became open-minded, came back to Canada, and started applying for jobs, in the GTA. And I did, go for interviews and everything. I signed myself up with the staffing agency, and they eventually contacted me about a role at Johnson & Johnson. It was a part-time contract role at J&J. I thought of J&J, I thought of baby shampoo, baby powder, Band-Aids. I thought, oh, cool, I've heard of this company. At that time, working for a big company just meant a lot. So I was on board, they sent me more information, and that's when I learned more about surgical instruments, surgical devices, and oh, this is what they do. I had absolutely no idea. I don't know anything about any of this stuff, but it's cool. It's part-time contract. If I hate it, it's not going to last forever anyway. So I started working there. I got, the interview process was fantastic. The people were fantastic, and they hired me on to help manage a few small projects, get a few promotions and things up and running for the general instruments line. But I mean, the company changed so quickly. Around the time I was there was definitely a need for marketing associates to support the business. And part-time turned into full-time after about 3 months. Contract turned into permanent very quickly as well. And so I stayed at J&J for about 7 years. I was a marketing associate for Codman Neuro, General Instruments, spine, a little bit of orthopedics as well. And it was, I knew at that point that medical devices was something that I wanted to get into and stay in, because it's recession-proof industry to be in. Essentially, people are always going to need treatment, versus what I was kind of into back in the day with airlines and all of that. Like it wouldn't have made sense nowadays. So
so you would say you kind of got it by, I wouldn't say accident, but it was not your intention. But then as you got in, I think that's the biggest potential gap that people have when they are looking for jobs, and maybe marketing people, specialists, they are just not even considering this potential of the medical device industry. But once you got in, you just saw the huge opportunity. And what, in your opinion, was something that attracted you? What makes the medical device industry so special from the marketing perspective that kind of made you say, okay, I'm going to stay. I like it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it for sure comes down to personal preference and what you're interested in and what your strengths are as well. But overall, there's still that core purpose behind medical devices, right? The fact that you're contributing to making people healthier, finding solutions. But then when you dive into it a little bit further, there's the amazing technology behind it. It's the ability to take a physical device or widget and show it to a physician, how it works, how it can be applied in surgery, teaching it to residents and fellows and all of that. I'd say that's probably my favorite part of it, like the product management side of it, learning how it works and then explaining how it works to who's actually going to use it. That's probably my favorite part of it. And I think I also just love the fact that now that I'm a manager, more responsibilities, the fact that every single day in medical device marketing is not the same. I'm not a very routine-based person. I don't think I'd be able to be that kind of person who does the same thing every day. And kudos to those types of people for sure. But for me, like I can't do the same thing every day. So, sometimes I'm doing forecasting, thinking about new products launches, where are they going to fit in our market? Will our market bear it? Think about pricing, managing tenders, managing training sessions, physician education events, conferences. The list is absolutely endless, but that's what I really love about that. And I think that's one thing that's very unique as well about medical devices too. It's more than just raw marketing. There are so many other components to it that involve working with your physician customers and educating them on how these devices actually work.
Yeah. And from what I hear from you right now, I can see, I know how rewarding it can be, right? From the perspective when you deliver the product to the customer, when you deliver it to the end user. But I think when you hear about marketing, and this is what people especially young um, new grads or people who just finish up university, when they hear about marketing, I don't think they can totally comprehend the scope of work, what
Yeah.
is involved in it. And what you just
Mhm.
mentioned, I think it's very valuable for them to know. It's so much more than just, posting a picture online or making I don't know, a slogan of some sort, right? Because it's much more wide, it's much wider field, I'd say. But what about the challenges when it comes to medical device market and medical device industry? Because it's not a straightforward marketing route, and there's so many specifics involved because you are dealing with a medical product. It's not something, I don't know, a shoe, for example, right? Where you just
Right,
take a
right.
pretty picture and post it on maybe social media. So can you tell me a little bit more about the specifics and potentially challenges when it comes to marketing medical products?
The biggest challenges I would say in marketing and medical devices is the fact that it is such a tender driven process, and you see this on the sales side as well. If you're a hospital, you may only go to bid on a certain type of system every 5 years or so, and so whenever you work in marketing and you're in like the number 2, 3, 4 position in terms of market share, it's really hard to get that share back.
Mhm.
And a lot of times it probably also means that your budget gets cut, and so you have to get creative in finding ways to create value with less money every time you come around to that. So I think fighting for that number one position and maintaining it is a significant
Yeah.
challenge for sure. And it's also just sticking to your strategy as well and being able to adapt to changes in the market
Mhm.
landscape as they come their way for you as well.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
definitely. And what about current trends when it comes to the pandemic? Because I think it's a very current subject for everyone
Yeah.
in every field. And I know in some industries, marketing and online marketing maybe became a
Mhm.
mainstream thing.
Yeah.
What type of trends do you see right now in the medical technology
Yeah, definitely.
industries when it comes to marketing?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I mean the pandemic has had such a terrible effect on so many people,
Hmm.
their livelihood, their jobs, their families, and so one thing that came out of it for I think all of us is just the humanity of it, and I think the opportunities for people to learn to be more honest with themselves
Hmm.
and with each other when it comes to burnout, mental health, and all of that, and I think it's all a terrible thing, but you can make it into a good thing. I feel like my honesty levels and my camaraderie with my coworkers has taken itself to a different level just because we become so honest with each other because we're so sympathetic to
Hmm.
everything everyone's going through. And I think that definitely finds its way into the work you do in many ways. So that's sort of like the touchy feely side of it. But whenever it comes to practically speaking, what have we seen? I mean, the pandemic has exposed the weak spots in Canada's healthcare network,
Hmm.
and that there's opportunity for healthcare and medical device companies to grow and to develop because of that. I mean, the healthcare systems, the ministries of health rely on industry. They seek industry for ideas and influence on innovation in order to move forward, right? And so
Hmm.
I can think of many examples just in the last few months where we have been approached like, give us your ideas and how we can make things better. I think you realize that industry holds the keys to so many
Hmm.
ideas and people and concepts, and it marketing are the ones who tend to hold those keys. They're
Yeah.
the key holders anyway, and then they unlock whatever doors are needed. But I think there's going to be some very exciting things coming down the pipeline as a result of COVID. I also just think because of the pandemic as well, we're just going to see a lot of new stuff coming,
Yeah.
not only because new technologies have been developed, probably in respiratory care and things like that in order to treat patients who
For
suffer
sure.
from COVID, but also from a launch standpoint. I'm sure a lot of companies out there are just holding off on launching new technologies until things kind of slow down a little bit and
Hmm.
they're able to really focus and be able to present a new product in a face-to-face setting. But also just Health Canada are completely bogged down right now. They're really only prioritizing submissions for COVID-related solutions. And so I think just sort of naturally because of that in itself, products won't get Health Canada approval until, months later down the line, just because of those general delays.
Yeah, but I would agree. I think it had an impact from a positive and from a negative a bit. From positive, definitely brought more attention to medical device industry, right? The medical technology is right now, I think people realized how important it is, right? So they realized how they are relying on it. And like you said, all the health authorities, they also rely on it. But I guess from the negative side, it potentially pushed back those technologies that potentially are not related specifically to COVID or COVID related diseases and problems that people are experiencing. And what about the women's health? Because I know you are working in women's health. Do you think that was also pushed back, or it didn't have a big impact? It didn't experience a big impact from
I would
COVID.
say it's definitely had an impact. You just think about, obviously women are half of the population. You think of just the healthcare workers, the nurses and the staff in hospitals, that, frontline workers, and more than 50% of frontline workers across Canada and probably across the world are women. So that's one thing, right? So like their care really needs to be prioritized, because healthy women equals healthy world. They are the caretakers of the world. They're the mothers, they're the grandmothers, they're the sisters. Without healthy women, then the entire world becomes extremely sick. So there's definitely that, but I also think about women who suffer from infertility, fibroids, abnormal uterine bleeding. They were probably reluctant even before COVID to visit a healthcare practitioner, because talking about women's health has always been a really taboo subject. And you add in this extra reluctance or anxiety about visiting a doctor because you don't want to be in a doctor's office, you don't really want to talk about your health, then these problems, these underlying problems that they have, just get more serious, unfortunately, down the line. And so something that was perhaps treatable in a very simple way through medical management or something like that now actually needs a surgical intervention. And so those are some ways in which I believe women's health has been drastically affected. And when you think about cervical cancer, breast cancer as well, women who are just putting off their screening appointments, they're the issues and the risks with that are going to get exasperated.
For sure. Well, but hopefully we are on the other end of it. So hopefully things will start improving, and obviously it impacts so many people in so many fields too. So hopefully we are getting out of it.
And on the bright side, the technology is there, right? It exists for these women to get treatment. It's just about hospitals giving more access to this technology for these patients to get them through the system quickly and efficiently.
No, for sure. I think that's the challenge.
Yeah.
And going back to your job and work in marketing, I'd like to ask you more specific questions when it comes to different types of jobs in marketing. Because going back to how we started, marketing is such a broad field. And when people hear about marketing, they kind of see just very narrow picture. And I want to tell people that there are so many options, actually. When you're searching for a job, you can actually apply to so many different positions, but they're all part of the marketing. They're all under the marketing umbrella. Even sales is part of the marketing team, right? But be closely related to marketing. It's all interconnected.
So would you,
I'm
so happy you said that.
Could you please tell me what types of positions and jobs are available in marketing, and if people are looking into getting some job in marketing, what they can search for?
Yeah, definitely. It obviously depends on the organization and the structure of the organization, but in general, you're just starting off and you're brand new grad, there are marketing coordinator, marketing associate, marketing executive positions that are more entry level, where you would work with a marketing team, maybe reporting into a manager or a director. And of course, there's marketing manager positions as well. So my role is called marketing manager, but you might hear something kind of equivalent in different companies, just with different names. You hear of market manager, you hear product manager as well. And they're a little bit different, but because I would say my role includes product management. Again, it depends on on the company. Then you'll also get into more of like the communications side of the business too. I mean, there is a little bit of like, PR, public affairs that have, its own sort of arm, but in a way they're still very much interconnected with marketing too. And marketing operations, we have a marketing operations team within our company outside of Canada, and they will kind of work on sort of, bigger, more strategic priorities, digital strategies and things like that. And again, every single company is different, but that's sort of, the different options that you can start off with at sort of that junior to middle level anyway. But from, I guess, a management position within marketing, the opportunities are endless, depending on where you want to go. If you want to stay in marketing at your organization, if you do work for, a bigger medical device organization, opportunities to perhaps pivot to different divisions, opportunities to perhaps even go and work in other regions, move to the US or Europe or somewhere like that, which is always exciting. There's promotions to director level and VP level, of course, too. So once you get into marketing, there are so many really cool directions you can go into. I know people who started off in marketing and ended up in sales, or started off in regulatory and moved their way into marketing or sales. And so I think once you're in there and you get a bit of a lay of the land and you're able to determine what you're actually interested in, I think the possibilities are definitely endless. And it's just a matter of having those conversations with the people around you, learning more about those opportunities and expressing interest in them as they come your way. They're not going to come to you automatically. You have to ask for any opportunity that you definitely want.
Yeah, and I guess the key message from this to deliver to the audience of what people are watching us right now, just to start somewhere in, not just look for a marketing role, but product management is one of those roles, or marketing associate, the way how you started. Those are the types of roles that can get you into the company. And then from there, you can choose the direction. You can actually, like you said, pivot and shift your focus. And I think that's the beauty about the medical device industry and medical technology companies, but not many people are aware. That's how I think it is right now. But what about job as a marketer in general? Can you share some tips from your experience? What does it mean to be a good marketer? So right now it's more of a generic question, not just medical device related question, but what is it in your opinion to be a good marketer, and what kind of tips you can give to people who are watching us?
Yeah, definitely. I think first and foremost, I think you need to get a good understanding of the landscape you're playing in. I mean, literally the market, right? Know who all the key players are, and try your best to understand, the size of the pie that they own. I think is the big thing, and understand, what their approaches are. I would also say that market segmentation is a key part of marketing, no matter what industry you're in. Once you're in and you have your product or your company, or you're launching something, you can apply your segmentation really to any kind of strategy, but you have to know who your audience is in order to cater your messages towards them. And that will also help you determine your pricing, which is another really big aspect of marketing. And I would say probably one of the most difficult things to crack is the pricing question, right? You don't want to just give away things for free. You don't want to just, devalue your product over and over again with discounts. You set a price on something, and there has to be a very, very valid and comprehensive reason why you price your product that way. And I think of the iPhone all the time. I think of just like marketing 101. I always go back to Apple products, right? Like the iPhone is expensive. Everyone knows that, but everyone still has it because Apple is so good at expressing the value of it. And they'll never sell the newest model, the iPhone 12 on sale, right? Like you're never going to get a discount on it until the next model comes out. And that's just how they work. And I think that's really important. So yeah, I would say like the biggest thing is just understanding the landscape, and then understanding how to communicate with each one of those segments within that landscape. I think once you crack that, and it's easier said than done, you become an expert in your field pretty quickly, I think. You start to live and breathe it a little bit.
Yeah. And do you find it is challenging for you to find those end users and make the connections with them? Again, I'm talking about medical products, doctors most likely, or nurses, or you find that they're quite approachable and they also want to partner and see what's out there? Because that's the very common question I receive from people that watching my channel.
Right,
So
yeah.
they ask me, is it hard? Do you have a problem getting people to, talking to you and discussing the product? And I think
Right.
it varies, and I would like to know what's your experience with that?
Yeah, definitely. I love speaking to customers and having that two-way conversation with them. In medical devices, your customers are healthcare practitioners, they are physicians, they're key opinion leaders, they are nurses, very academic people. They
Mhm.
love teaching, they love answering questions, they they love learning as well. And so I think if you want to partner with them, you take it with an approach of curiosity. Ask questions. Remember that they're the experts, and you're there to learn from them. And I find 90% of the time they want to teach you as well,
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, we're all in it to improve healthcare.
Healthcare.
I'm not
Yeah.
in sales. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm trying to express value of this product
Yeah.
to my customers. So it's not about making money generally at that point.
Yeah.
It's about having them become aware that this is a thing that exists and this is why it exists. So I think whenever you take that approach to it, your customers absolutely love partnering with you. It's always just a pleasing experience for sure. It's
Mhm.
just about feeling that curiosity and learning from them, and then teaching them a few things along the way as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thanks for the feedback, because I think it's important for people to understand how it works. And I know for people who are trying to get into the industry, sometimes it can be a bit intimidating. So the
Mhm.
idea of going and approaching doctors and talking about the product can be a little bit intimidating. I guess I have one last question when it comes to
Yeah, yeah.
marketing. What do you, how do you see right now the ratio between online marketing versus face-to-face conversation communication right now with the end users right at the moment in 2020, 2021?
Right.
What is the ratio now? What was before 2020 and what is it now? Because I am curious to know how it shifted, and do you think it will ever go back, or it will, potentially stay somewhere in the middle?
That's such a good question. Well, one thing I would definitely say is webinars, online learning,
Hmm.
I think is here to stay. I don't think it's going to take over everything. I would love to hope that, virtual
Hmm.
conferences become a thing of the past, but physicians and nurses and many other professions require continuing education credits. Every year they need to take courses and continue their learning in order to maintain their license with the Royal College. And many times they, have to take these courses in person. They're busy enough as it is, and so having the opportunity to take some of these courses at 8 p.m. after they've had dinner online is something that they prefer. And not many people know this, but in many cases, industry are the ones who sponsor or facilitate some of these learning programs. And so um, we never really, we didn't do it as much in the past, right? Like online webinars, it wasn't something
Hmm.
that we, especially like regionally, locally, ran ourselves. We definitely would have done those kinds of things in person at
Yeah.
conferences. But I think, yeah, moving forward, I think in many cases, we'll still see the opportunities to do these online learning programs for sure. It's great for the attendees, but it's also great for us as marketers, because we get to develop this permanent asset, this amazing video that we can share in the
Hmm.
future
Hmm.
with those who attend, or those who can't make it. You also have something to refer back to. You can take snippets of the video. It's great. It's yours to keep. You also
Yeah.
get all the analytics of the registrants as well, and the questions they
Yeah.
asked, who was there, who
Yeah.
wasn't there. So those are things I absolutely love. In terms of the digital side of things, definitely in my current role, we've versus maybe previous roles, we've had more of a digital presence, and I myself have had more involvement in working with agencies on digital plans and websites and things like that. Young residents, med students, those who are coming out of education into their careers, they're younger people now. They expect everything to be online. They're all on
Mhm.
Instagram, they're all on Twitter, they're TikToking, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there's no going backwards, right? There definitely isn't. They expect their answers to come from us via a Google search before they ask a question in person, for sure. So we want to
Yeah.
make sure that information is always widely available to them. So I think in terms of the ratio, I don't know, maybe pre-pandemic it was maybe like 70% in person, 30% digital. It's probably gone more to like 60-40, 60 being digital now. I would
Mhm.
love to live in a world where it's 50-50, right? I
50. Yeah.
truly believe that, especially in medical devices, because they are physical things, that hands-on training, that hands-on experience is super important. And a computer and online course is never going to take away from that.
Yeah.
So when we go back to being able to training residents face to face, being there with them, that'll be far more important than any online conference, for sure.
Yeah. No, I absolutely
Yeah.
agree. Well, thanks. That was fantastic. I just want to finish my interview with you with a personal question. That's what I like to do, just to ask you
Yeah, for
something
sure.
personal. So my question for you today is, what motivates you the most to get up in the morning and go to work? What is your key motivation?
Oh my goodness. Like I said, I'm not a very routine based person. And so I always get up with a bit of an excitement with, what is today going to hold? Will it be a good day? Will it be a bad day? And I always wake up with, a positive attitude, excited because I love my job so much that it is going to be a good day. And if something gets thrown at me that, I wasn't expecting, that, was going to throw me in a bit of a loop, I'm confident now where I am that I will be able to handle it, which is great. I think that gets me going. And I guess when it comes down to just the company itself that I work for and the core values that we represent, it's just I just think about all the women in my life. I think about my mom and my best friends and things like that, and how important it is to just keep progressing in women's health, especially specifically women's health. Whenever you invest in women's health, a company like ours, you're reinvesting back into innovation to move that forward. So that gets me going every single time, for sure.
Yeah.
Just knowing that we're contributing to a better future for everyone around the world is huge. And there's just like I get so excited when I think about what the future holds for our company itself. It's going to be very exciting, and so I wouldn't want to miss it. So those are some
Yeah.
things that get me going in the morning, for sure.
That's awesome. I could not even imagine a better ending for this interview. I think that's perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you so much.